Hello, this is Pick, and welcome back to my guide for FTB NeoTech. I never processed the toluene I was making at the end of last episode, so let's do that now. The only use for it is making industrial TNT. This is basically a crafting component required for pretty much any recipe in the Implosion Compressor. To make the Implosion Compressor, I'm going to need a lot of titanium. So, naturally, I'll be setting up another electric blast furnace for titanium processing. There are two ways of getting titanium. The first is the electrolysis of bauxite ore, which I'll be running through my entire backlog of that titanium dust now. You can also make it from titanium ore itself, but I don't really have a need for it yet, so I'll hold off. To work with my pre-existing item storage, where I wanted to fill up if the buffer fills and not send it to the dump chest, I'm going to restrict the import bus to only import fluids. I believe back in the day there were separate buses for items and fluids, but now that everything is combined, I can simply disable taking items, and I'll be manipulating those with, of course, item pipes. This ought to let me hold backlogs better because I can connect it right to the drawer network. Next up, I require Blastproof Alloy. To get started, it's going to be extremely expensive. I'll need a lot of tungsten and titanium, and I guess stainless steel, but that's not the limiting component here. If you recall last episode, I was making tungsten in 6 compressors. Once we get our first Implosion Compressor, we'll be using it to make more Blastproof Alloy for far cheaper. But for right now, I'm stuck using inefficient methods that take forever. So I time-torched all of those compressors making tungsten. Something I probably could have used earlier and just never did was a compression upgrade. If there's more than one available slot in an inventory, the compression upgrade will compact an item into its compacted form. For example, nuggets into ingots, ingots into blocks, etc. So I can automatically turn all of the tungsten nuggets I'm producing into tungsten ingots. I probably could have used that for tiny dust and such to avoid using packers, but I've already used the packers. This recipe is absolutely awful, and I wouldn't recommend doing it as soon as you get the chance not to. If you're curious, you're going to need like 5 stacks of blastproof ingots to compress. That should make all of the blastproof alloy you'll need. This machine is a little different from all of the others. I would recommend using larger ports and filtering them to handle multiple recipes per machine. Efficiency isn't really a concern because recipes are surprisingly very quick. In this case, I'll be doubling up on both tungsten processing and blastproof alloy creation. And boy, could this cheapening not come soon enough. I'd like to make a quick and dirty, somewhat better looking underground space. So that means I'll be exchanging the floor out real quick, using an exchanging gadget. This has a configurable size. You can open its GUI using its hotkey, search up its hotkey in the controls if you don't know what it is, and I can swap blocks out to become other blocks. It makes swapping out floors a pretty simple task. I'd like the tree farm to keep running, so I'm going to upgrade the woodcutter to a Galgadorian woodcutter. This is the top tier woodcutter, and it has infinite durability, meaning it will never break. It requires Galgador to make, but that's not too expensive at this stage given that I have access to EMC, so I can condense all of the components I need and make that Galgadorian woodcutter. Since I need a Galgadorian hull to use the Galgadorian woodcutter, I might as well start over with my cart entirely. Otherwise, you can make a cart modifier, put your cart in the modifier, and swap the parts out, but I'll be starting from scratch. I have also added a solar generator to this one. It'll take over and use less charcoal overall because I'll be putting the solar generator on a higher priority. It's going to take quite a long time though to craft this at its default speed. After all, 2.5 hours is a very long time, isn't it? Thankfully, I can just use a bunch of time torches and the temporal pouch to speed up the process, so I don't have to wait that 2.5 hours. But I will be cutting anyway, obviously. See ya when it's done. Alright, it's done. Let's swap it out. If you didn't know, you can change engine priorities on your minecarts. This means that I can put the coal engine on a lower priority, or I guess the medium priority, and the solar engine can stay on the high priority, so the solar engine will always activate first and use its energy before the coal engine does. Beyond that, it's basically a 1-for-1 swap from the other woodcutting cart. With steam power in one base sorted away, let's sort out steam power in the second one. This is where the Pressurizer comes in. Pressurizer takes water and turns it into high pressure water. It also works on heavy water, to make high pressure heavy water obviously. I believe you can also get liquid air this way, but we're here for the high pressure water. We're going to want to stock up on it, so let it run. Now, let's actually use this high pressure water. I've built up a backlog, so what I'm going to do is boil the water in a high pressure large steam boiler. This is an upgrade from the advanced large steam boiler that I was using in the other building. Of course, we'll have the high pressure water input and the high pressure steam output, but instead of solid fuels, I'm going to be using boosted diesel. The high pressure steam gets sent into the heat exchanger. The heat exchanger is going to be filled with water and high pressure steam. This will convert it into high pressure water and regular steam. High pressure steam is hard to come by though, as high pressure water takes a while to make. So, in order to save our high pressure water, I can use the heat exchanger to exchange the high pressure steam's temperature into regular water, and then use regular steam in the turbine. By making this a closed loop and taking the high pressure water back out and into the ME system, I can maintain the amount of high pressure water I have at any given time, and just use regular water as what gets actually consumed. You'll definitely want to filter the outputs on the heat exchanger. This makes sure that you won't have any shenanigans with which port gets filled with which fluid. You can then send the regular steam into the turbine and output the power through the back. I'm outputting it as EV and then transforming it down into HV, as all of my machines on this floor are running off of some form of HV power. A note about modern industrialization fluid pipes. They have the same quirk as the mechanism fluid pipes, where if you place more of them, the transfer rate is increased. So, on top of having multiple pipes in one space, you're going to want to have them have a long line so that they have a higher transfer rate. I would also recommend voiding the extra steam. After all, it's just water, and if it backlogs, you're going to have issues. Now's a good time to make some turbo upgrades. They're the next step beyond the advanced upgrades. And of course, higher tier means more EU per tick per item, and more you can fit in the stack. Especially since the upgrades themselves actually don't increase in cost, you're just adding junk to them. That is to say, they don't compress like circuits. So, coming up here, I'm going to start requiring a lot of cryofluid. Cryofluid is made from helium and argon. Remember when I said you're going to want a lot of argon last episode? Yeah, you're going to want a lot of argon. So much that I'm going to be beelining the infinite argon tank. By going into the Feed the Beast quest line, if you don't have this quest open, you have to go to the Master of LV quest, hit the back arrow, and then check the check mark. That's a bug. Hopefully, when there is another version, that will fix this bug. But anyway, this is basically a bunch of make a ton of this quests. A number of them are probably already done for you. They're also all really easy. Well, mostly really easy. In any case, it's going to be a rush to the 3rd tier because that's where the quest that has this infinite argon tank is. It's the boosted diesel one. A lot of this stuff is what I've already automated before, just maybe not fast enough. Nothing time torches can't fix. And since I have a lot of quests to take care of, I'm just going to set it up now and let it run and see if I have any problems. Since a lot of this is stuff I've already done, I'm not going to show most of it, but if there's something particular that I want to show, obviously I'll let you know. Basically, the one thing I've made 0 of so far is epic bacon. Obviously, a bunch of dyes are pretty easy to obtain, though the bacon itself is, I guess, kind of different. Now, there's a recipe for just using a force furnace with a grinding core, both of which I've already made, but there's a faster way to do it. If I go up to a pig and shear it, well, let's just say that this time the pig model isn't as ugly as it was in the original Darkcraft. I'm still going to put the pig out of its misery though. Bacon acquired. Also, this has an EMC value. If something has an EMC value, yes, I'm going to be lazy. Can just make infinite of it. Next, I require a lot of Regalium. Regalium is a rare ore in the Undergarden, only available at the very bottom of the map. But it's an ore. I think you can trade for it using some Undergarden mechanics, but who needs to trade when you have X-Ray? Thanks, Eclipse Alloy Paxel. Now I can just cut through all of the stone, pick up all of the Regalium ore, and I'll process it after. I believe it is affected by fortune if you're interested in that. Oh, at the start of this clip I did show off the Eclipse wand. You know the portable hoe from Thaumcraft? Yeah, that's what this is. It makes blocks intangible for a while. Specifically blocks and not tile entities or anything. Easy for making a tunnel to get to the bottom of the map. Now, all the battery options we have are kind of subpar. The most energy dense but most jank way of handling portable energy storage would be to take a portable storage unit and a storage unit down to where you want to go. By right-clicking when holding a battery over the portable storage unit in your inventory, you can insert the battery into it. This adds energy storage into the portable storage unit. You can't charge things directly from this though, so you'll have to right-click it on an energy storage unit of some kind, and then right-click with the item you want to fill. Yeah, it's very cumbersome. Generally speaking, the pocket storage generator is probably better. Now I need a ton of lava. Well, obviously the Nether is full of that, so I made a pump from Mechanism, and that'll pretty much get all the lava I need. It's important to remember to load the chunk at least. That way it'll run while you're not babysitting it. Claim chunks also protect it from ghasts. I don't know if there are any other explosive things in the Nether from mods or something, but ghasts. Next up, I need a lot of blaze gold, so I'll quickly automate that, or at least the goo process. I'm just gonna manually feed an alloy kiln and time torch it. I'd recommend making your 2 stacks of blaze gold before turning all of them into swords to get wither skeleton skulls. Maybe like a stack of swords should be enough, maybe like a stack and a half for good measure. Coke dust is super cheap at this stage, so throw them all in your electric quarry, and once you have all of that blaze gold, let the swords run free. You could give them their own quarry, or you could just mooch off of another quarry, your call. Depends on how much you care about the rest of the systems in your factory just stopping working for a while. Oh, also, I don't seem to have gotten footage of this, but I made an electric blast furnace to make more synthetic rubber, or well, synthetic oil, you get the point. If you didn't know, the electric blast furnace can handle all of the steam blast furnace's recipes. It doesn't explicitly state it in JEI, but it does show it on the bottom, or EMI, you get the point. I guess now I'm required to give you a short crash course on the chickens mod. Chickens can breed with each other to have a chance to mutate into different types of chickens, depending on what they will show you in EMI in their recipe tree. When chickens breed, they produce eggs. Eggs can be incubated in the incubator or processed in the egg cracker. To use the incubator, it requires power and water, and you need to set the heat to a proper level. I think 4 works fine for most chickens. It doesn't show progress on the eggs, but over time they will hatch into full chickens. Don't leave them in there for too long, or they turn into cooked chicken. Chickens require seeds to breed, just like they would outside of the breeder, and eventually chickens do die as they have a lifespan. So you'll need to do some filtering to send fully grown chickens back into the breeder when the ones in the breeder die. Overall, I didn't really find a use for chickens in this playthrough. EMC and drills pretty much took care of everything I needed, and anything that didn't fall into those categories could either be automated or were something I just didn't need automated. Of course, you can speed things up with tick accelerators, and better chickens can produce more eggs faster, so make sure to get those stats up. It also doesn't take all that long to do compared to how it was in the past with some other chickens incarnations. I guess I could also mention that the clay chicken is a quest reward from an early quest, so claim all of your unclaimed rewards if you can't find yours. It's probably just stuck there. As you would expect, the egg cracker requires a source of energy in order to function, but that's such an easy thing to do that I shouldn't even have to say that. Ultimately, this mod is just kinda here. There are plenty of things better than it, but if you want to go for it, be my guest. Pretty much the last thing I'm kinda short on production of is ethylene, or I guess polyethylene really, but the ethylene itself is the slow step. I have plenty of chromium dust. So, how do we get more ethylene then? Well, for starters I can make an installer. A basic tier 1 at that. I can upgrade the crusher to do 3 processes simultaneously. I'm sure if you've ever played with Mechanism, you already knew that, but that's how it is. Beyond that, you might be interested in time torches again. When using speed upgrades in Mechanism machines, the cost for installing speed upgrades increases at a greater rate than the processing speed does. So for high efficiency, you want a lot of energy upgrades and very few speed upgrades, and use time torches to fix the rest. Once you overclock the crap out of everything, you should be producing ethylene at a fairly decent rate. With what I got it down to, it takes about an hour from this point, but as always there's other stuff to do, so I can just busy myself instead of twiddling my thumbs staring at the screen waiting for a number to go up. Let's kill a little more time, shall we? I just set up a vacuum freezer. This will make cryo fluid. You'll probably want a fair number of upgrades in this thing, as you're gonna want cryo fluid at a decently fast pace. Should you find yourself low on helium, you could process more oil, or you could process some other recipe that gives you helium. I believe centrifuging monazite gives helium. But yeah, make sure you're making enough helium and argon, and again, we're going for infinite argon, so we won't have to worry about the argon supply soon enough. I need more to do. I'll make some emeralds. So to do that, I just need to make some auto traders and then a breeder, and I can start breeding villagers to have more of them. Because I am completely ethical, I'm just going to dump all the babies in a pit until they grow up. That's how you get healthy children, right? Let them grow up in a pit with no exposure to anything, except for the elements. To use the breeder, you just put food in it and wait. Oh, and I guess some villagers, that might be important too. Auto trader works like any regular trader. Put a job lock and a villager in, and set the trade, and it will automatically trade for you. Sticks are probably the easiest thing to do, though I'll add one for coal in as well, just to increase the production rate. Now I just have to wait for all the boosted diesel to go into the task screen, and I'll have my infinite argon tank. To use it, I'll just put a storage bus on it. Then whenever I need argon, it will draw it from the storage bus. Guess I also picked up a tank for infinite lava along the way, but the argon is the most useful thing in this scenario. I don't know if it was clear or not, but you need to complete every quest in a given tier to move on to the next one, and then complete that energy task. However, while you can't claim rewards early, you can complete the quests themselves early by getting all the required materials, of course, as I've been doing this entire time. So now I'll just keep producing cryo fluid, infinitely, or rate dependent on my helium, I guess. Okay, time to set up a new machine chainer for a whole different set of machines. Something I discovered while testing with it is that if you have a stack in a machine attached to the machine chainer, and that stack is less than 16 items, it won't actually send items into that stack. I don't know exactly why it does this, but you're going to definitely want to make sure that all stack sizes are at least 16. If it can't send 16, it still works fine. Just some bizarre trait, I guess. Now that I'm making industrial TNT, I can turn diamond dust directly into diamonds. Could I have just used an enrichment chamber for this? Yes, I could have just done that. But I wanted to use this machine, you know? And I did skip out on processing emeralds by doing it through trading, but I figured I'd vary things up a bit, you know? Like having different forms of processing going on in my base. Well, we're already on the last project for the episode. I can make a highly advanced machine hull. Much like all the ones before it, this one upgrades you to a new voltage tier, that being EV. Though these are rather expensive, and I don't think it's worth upgrading right now. HV probably handles you for most of the things you want high power for. That being said, I can't actually make the highly advanced hull yet, because I need chromium ingots. Not that that's complicated, I guess. Time to be cheap yet again. I'm just gonna mooch off of my pre-existing machines to process the chromium. Part of this is because I'll be completely overhauling the cooling system by switching entirely to heat exchangers once I get cryofluid production really quick. But for this episode, I'm just going to use the infrastructure I have with all of these vacuum freezers already. I can afford to do this because I'm not producing the ingots at a fast enough rate anyway. My goal for today is to make the Gravichestplate. This will give me creative flight. To get there, the next step is to make titanium drills. Like all of the other tiers of drill, I'm just going to produce them via condenser. But of course I need the first one, so I need some large advanced motors. Other than that, I've made everything before, so I guess I'll get back to you when I set up that quarry. Titanium drills can mine 3 things: fluorite, uranium, and iridium. We're already making tiny bits of iridium, but of course we want more and faster. Technically speaking, I didn't need to set this up to make the Gravichestplate, as I already have that iridium, but it's good to have more, as well as just building up a backlog right now. Now, fluorite isn't that useful. You could probably just hold on to a stack of the ore and that's all you'll need for the entire pack. So I'm just gonna avoid it until I need some. Uranium though, we'll get to using that next episode. As you would expect, I need to set up a bunch of microcrafting to get all of these components done. At this point, I've pretty much fully automated processing units. You'll definitely want that. The last holdouts were those emeralds and diamonds, and well, now I have that automated as well. Though production rate isn't exactly fantastic, I'll probably have to do that for next episode. For the time being though, I just have to set up all the rotors and all these pumps and, you know, all the micro components you're gonna end up needing. Nice to see that the big wall of ore processing is almost completely filled out. Let's fill in more of it. This time, it will be the uranium and the iridium processing. And I'll also be setting up a mixer to automate the superconductor alloy. Superconductor is basically the final alloy of the mod pack. Well, I guess I haven't made any nuclear alloy yet. The point being, we're almost at the top tier of materials. But of course, it's just macerate it, then macerate it again. How complicated. We were even already producing some uranium dust from silver ore. The one thing I am not producing for the superconductor is annealed copper dust, and that's only by technicality because you make annealed copper ingots directly instead of the dust. But just remacerate it and you're good to go. And once again, mooching off of other machines so I don't have to build more of them. Again, I will be making a whole bunch of heat exchangers next episode. Beyond that, the usual stuff. Make the superconductor into plates, turn the plates into wires, turn the wires into cables, though I guess there are some complexities to that. You'll need some cooling cells, but those aren't difficult to make. Also, you should know that heat exchangers, that being a crafting component that we are using for this stuff, they don't stack, so you're going to have to make sure you leave room for 2 heat exchangers within an assembler when crafting with them. Pretty much everything else stacks though, so nothing to worry on that front. Again, I would avoid setting the capacity on those heat exchangers to be a smaller stack size than 16, just so the chainers don't screw it up even though they really shouldn't. I did also produce highly advanced machine upgrades off camera, or rather I just set the assembler up. That's the highest tier of upgrade, and only one gives a fairly large power boost. Of course, time torches still help you reach that boost faster, but I can combine that with a bunch of superconductor cables, make the coil, and I'll be able to craft all of that together, and that will make the Gravichestplate. The Gravichestplate, as I said before, is creative flight. It doesn't offer as much for armor as a dedicated, armor piece, but it allows you to fly, so why should we care when we're not really leaving the base and fighting at this stage? I could have probably turned on peaceful at this point and barely anything would change because I'm just EMCing my food anyway. That being said, this is a wrapping up point for this episode. I know it's a bit of a shorter one, but what are you gonna do? I just had less to do and I wanted nuclear to all be in one episode. So, with that, this has been Pick. I'm glad to have seen you, and I hope to see you again.